And now, Pujya Atman Sri Swami Jyotirmayananda ji commences tonight's satsang with the Sanskrit peace chant.
Om Purnamadaha Purnamidam Purnat Purnamudachyate Purnasya Purnamadaya Purnamevavashishyate. Om Shanti Shanti Shanti. We begin with mystic song by Sri Swami Lalitananda, played and sung by Sri Swami Umananda and Rajneesh.
Our song tonight is based on a poem by Swamiji. It's called I Am Air. In the ocean waves, I lay without any care. I caged in snowy air, rejoicing in you at a spring fair. Breaking the mountains, moving the stars. I am the all-powerful wind, giving rise and joy.
Laughing and sporting rivers,
Still I am like a small child, drinking from the cup of the We are recording from the ashram of our revered Guru Pujayatman Sri Swami Jyotirmayananda in Miami, Florida. Today is September the 22nd, 2020, Tuesday evening, and tonight Swamiji will be lecturing on the Yoga Vasistha. This is series 2018, class number 275. And now Pujayatman Sri Swami Jyotirmayananda.
Om Brahmanandam Param Sukhadam Kevalam Jnanamurtim Dvandvatitam Gagana Sadrisham Tattvamasya Laksham Ekam Nityam Vimalamachalam Sarvadhi Sakshi Bhutam Bhavatitam Trigunarahitam Sadgurum Tam Namami. Om. Adoration Sadguru, who is Brahman, the giver of supreme bliss, embodiment of pure consciousness, one without a second, vast as the ether, infinite, eternal, beyond the three gunas and their modifications, the supreme preceptor. Yoga Vasistha, Nirvana Prakarana Purvardha, Section 21. Story of Kagabhushuddhi continues at the present stage. Sage Vasistha has asked Kagabhushuddhi to share his experience of Brahmagyan, Aham Brahmasmi. And Kagabhushuddhi is presenting all he has experienced. Is section 21. And his description is highly allegorical. His description of the kalpa tree, that no matter how things happen in the world, he abides on the tree, that's kalpa tree. Kalpa tree here referring to the state of enlightenment. Sage Bhushunda said, O sage, at the termination of each Mahayuga, when the winds of dissolution begin to sweep over creation, this kalpa tree remains steady and unaffected, and so I continue to live here peacefully. You must understand, it's allegorical. Do not start thinking of going to Himalayas and relocating the kalpa tree. Kalpa tree is that state of enlightenment. And Kagabhushuddhi is soul that has attained that state, as if he has his nest in a kalpa tree. It is Sthita Prajna Lakshana that is being conveyed by sage Bhushunda to sage Vasistha. And on that basis, the teaching is being conveyed to everyone who has ears. When the terrible demon Hiranyaksha robbed the earth and took it to the depths of the waters of deluge, there was catastrophe everywhere. But even then, the Kalpa tree was unaffected. While Hiranyaksha, all this we have given you some idea before. Hiranyaksha is that tamasic force, the force of evil that allows the mind to be dominated by mala, gross impurity. Impurities in old times in houses were cleaned by hogs. And this impurity was cleaned by God Himself. Who appeared in the form of a hog, Vara. And the whole story, I'm not going into it now. So it's allegorical. So even while the cleansing goes on, mala is being destroyed, your deeper reality remains unshaken. And whoever has that realization, he is also unshaken. Because he and the deeper reality now become one and the same. And then when Lord Vishnu incarnated as Varaha, the hog incarnation, and destroyed Hiranyaksha, thereby bringing the earth back from deluge, earth being dumped into deluge, it simply means self-effort. Allegorically speaking, is like having your support by the earth. An earth term means, in English, earth, you know what it is, but Sanskrit has the same word. Earth means purpose. When you live your life without the awareness of the purpose of life, just living, then you are dominated by Hiranyaksha. Hiranyaksha means the eyes that are only looking at the ornaments, not the gold. And the gold is the reality behind the ornaments. So you are only looking at names and forms and not Satchidananda. Not God, who is the reality behind. During the fight between gods and demons, great chaos developed in the universe. And even the sun and the moon were destroyed still this kalpaka tree remains invincible. Trying to present to you the most catastrophic happening in the world. And in spite of all the catastrophe and terror that you can imagine, and we put together millions of these catastrophes that have gone on happening, in spite of all this, the enlightened state, sage who is enlightened, who has realized I am Brahman, is not shaken, because Brahman cannot be shaken. And this reminds me of another statement made by Yoga Vasistha a little later. Patatyangar varshecha vati va malayanile bhutale vrajati vyomni shamam aste gya atmani. If there were rain, terrible rain of burning embers, or very gentle, gracious breeze carrying the fragrance of sandalwood, or the entire earth were to simply burst and explode. Stars do, planet Earth also will one day succumb to it. Shamam aste gya atmani. One who is the knower of the self, shamam aste, remains in shama, absolute calm, serenity. All these seem such big things to handle, but everyone handling it. Because the world you handle is through your nervous system. No matter how big the world seems to be, and you have the iPad, computer as illustration, how much of the world pours through your computer. And yet you figure out only those files, those needed informations from the computer which are purposeful for you. Others who have the capacity to shut them off. Similarly, through your brain and nervous system, firstly, the capacity to capture the vast universe and cosmos, that possibility is endless. Your mind can imagine all types of things. And yet, all things of the universe are shaken out by a change in the angle of vision. In other words, whatever may happen in the world, all catastrophes themselves don't know they are catastrophes, because they have no nervous system. They are catastrophes in relation to human personality or anyone who is alive, in relation to nervous system. So as long as you are depending upon body, mind, complex, your individual personality. All this you are going to experience. But led by your own karma, you will pass through difficult circumstances as if it was just a magic. Or led by, again, negative karmas, even in a very pleasant circumstances, something may go wrong. Dal mein kala. Dal is soup, kala is little flea. That spoils the soup. First point that's being brought by Kakbhukshundi is that state of enlightenment is absolutely unshaken. Same thing could have been explained to you. Brahman is absolutely unshaken. But that becomes big mathematical expression. Now the same thing is being brought into another allegorical language. During the fight between the gods and demons, great chaos developed in the universe. Even the sun and moon were destroyed. Still this kalpa tree remained invincible. On one side, your mind is being directed to the universe in different aspects. On the other side, kalpa tree, which is same as wisdom of Brahman, or just say Brahman. You can simply understand in a very simple way. Even during 1 month, how many things happened in the sky, and still you open your eyes and see the sky is calm, unscratched. The sky is the kalpa tree. All things that happen and will go to on happening are like all these clouds and storms, etc. That type of boundless peace awaits an aspirant who is pursuing the paths leading to enlightenment. And that's the goal of everyone, every soul. Every soul is a reflected sun. The goal is the real sun. When Garuda stole nectar from the heavenly world, the storms created by his wings shook the entire creation. And yet this kalpa tree remained unshaken. All these Puranic stories, they are allegorical, so I'm not going into details on those. In the episode where nectar, heavenly nectar was stolen. Heavenly nectar is a source of bhoga, enjoyment. But stolen from heaven, Garuda did it. The nectar that is interpreted in the terms of bhoga, celestial pleasure, that nectar now is being interpreted as liberation. You stole it from the house of this illusory self. Sage Vasistha asked, "O sage, how do you survive the terrible impact of the destructive winds that blow at the end of the kalpa, when even the sun and moon are destroyed, how do you remain unagitated? When you hear this, you have to understand, you don't have to go through a terrible turmoil before you. One little headache is enough. Puts everything in turmoil. So you don't have to wait, when will that calamity come? Will come. The whole world, universe in all different stages are being experienced through your own mind. And mind is backed up by its own karmic process. In other words, your mind, led by karma, has a different type of form. Led by wisdom, your mind opens the door to liberation. Mind is the basis for bhoga and moksha. Sage Kagbhushunda continued, O sage, having renounced all mentations are vrittis, thought waves, I exist in a subtle form in the akasha, chidakash, pure consciousness. Thought waves create. These are the projections that allow your soul to experience the world of time, space, causation, and go through the cycle of birth and death. All that is through mental projection, vrittis. That's what we know as bhav pratyaya. Pratyaya-based experience. So your dream is pratyaya-based experience. All that happens. Waking up is pratyaya bhav. Pratyaya disappears. Pratyaya-based experiences are projection-based experiences. Pratyaya bhav is absence, taking the projection away. And that's the reality, the absolute self. That absolute self was never in any way affected by all the pratyayas, all the projections of your mind. The truth remains unshaken, while the mind goes on creating lot of drama. During the time of universal destruction, when 12 suns begin to blaze all at once, and the mountains begin to melt by a terrible heat, I take recourse to Varuna Dharana, on the idea I am Varuna, the god of refreshing cool waters. Thus I am not affected by the terrible heat. Now we are being given subtle sadhana methods of moving away from pratyaya-based experience to the revelation of the screen, where projections are not needed at all. There is nothing but the screen. In other words, your goal is, instead of constant mental affirmation, I am the body, It should be, I am Brahman, the Absolute. But moving to that climax, I am Brahman, requires training your mind, directing your mind by affirmations. So, if you are facing a life that's full of such vicious problem, terrifying situation, that there is nothing but fire everywhere, terrible heat, and that's again, understand, everything has a subtle meaning. For a spiritually sensitive person, whenever looking at the world, we are looking at three tapas, three fires. Tapa relating to the physics, the body. Everyone you see is going through the same changes in the body and ultimately bye-bye to the body. And that's tapa enough. Then you have tapa, all torture and pain that comes through the world. And the news go on pouring into your ears. I'm just giving it in a humorous way. So the world around you becomes the source of constant pain and trouble. That's tapa. First it's called adhyatmik tap. The second one, adhibhautik tap. Third one, adhidavik, act of God. Means big storms, volcanic eruptions, or something, even this coronavirus. It's adhidavik trouble. So these three troubles are like you are in a house surrounded by fires all over. How can you save yourself? Your affirmation, I am Varuna, the very source of all gracious aspect of water, refreshing, cool water. So Varuna is the deity behind. Wherever you see cool lake, wonderful calm river, or just water that quenches the thirst, the deity behind all that is Varuna. And your affirmation, I am Varuna, is not far-fetched imagination, because your I am is not the ego. Your I am is, I am Brahman. But it's too difficult to handle such big revelation. So now we start sneaking out that revelation in every little experience. When the winds of deluge blow over the world, I take recourse to Parvati Dharana, Parvat Dharana. Now, again, illustration. Wind is blowing, everything is shaking up, but a mountain doesn't. So I am that mountain. Start telling yourself. And that's, I'm unshaken. Go on shaking, but start saying it. That's called your affirmation stage. Because by doing that, your mind begins to open up a window to deeper understanding that this shaking aspect is based upon karma and its operations. The real I am is not defined by karma. Clouds, etc. come in the sky, they are geographical factors behind them. The sky is untouched by normal geography. Before my very eyes. Now let's see. So when there is shaky situation, your dharana should be, I am like I am mountain. खड़ा हिमालय बता रहा है, डरो न आदि पानी से. One of the Hindi poems. The mighty Himalaya standing is constantly declaring before you, do not be afraid of stormy wind and terrible rains. Look at me, खड़ा हिमालय बता रहा है. And that type of inner affirmation must develop. During the state of dissolution, I abide in the nirvikalpa state. And when Brahma, the creator, is again born out of the navel of Lord Vishnu, thereby starting a new creation, I again come to my abode in the kalpa tree. That again is allegorical. He doesn't go anywhere because there's nowhere to go. All changes, even including the pralaya, yugas, which are enormous range of time period. All the yugas go on passing on. In the end, it is allegorical description. Everything comes to a state of deluge called pralaya. But countless pralayas have gone on before. Creation and dissolution have gone on. But one who is enlightened, his enlightened soul is no longer individual soul, Brahman. That Brahman has remained the same from beginning and beginningless, endless. In fact, from beginningless to endless, because time is not reality. In every kalpa, the kalpa tree manifests, and I come back to it again and again. It's simply allegorical, it doesn't go anywhere. Just like when say, every time there is storm and rain, the sun goes away for a while, but he comes back again. O sage, in one kalpa, the earth was barren. Even the trees and mountains were non-existent. This earth consisted only of a vast stretch of desert. Again, now your attention is directed towards finding stability in the world. That is impossible. And that's what is being presented in allegorical way. that you face, everything that supports you in this world, the earth supports you the best. But there has been times that the earth has been completely in a miserable state. I remember at one time the earth being buried in sands over 10,000 years. I also remember one time when the sun and moon did not exist and the earth was enveloped in darkness. All this showing how the world that you are seeing has a beginning, has a middle, has an end. Even the big stars and the sun has its own story. There was a time when the sun wasn't there. And there are millions of suns that you see shining, and they are not there. You are seeing them because the light they passed on millions of years ago. But the light is coming down to your eyes now. This science. For 2 yugas, the earth was filled with wild bushes and trees. Nothing else but the trees were seen everywhere. Still, there are places on the earth planet where there are lots of trees and human beings are simply unable to stay there. In another yuga, the earth was filled with mountains, inaccessible to human beings. All these are realities of physical world. One time for 10,000 years, the earth was covered with the bones of demons. This I remember very clearly. Now it's allegorical description. And it doesn't require long time. Time is mentioned 10,000, million, all that as allegorically. Simple meaning behind this, bones of demons. If you become spiritually advanced and develop a spiritual sensitivity, the same world that looks so fascinating, you will see in that like a burial ground. Even people who are living big, they are going to be buried up into that. So it is development of vairagya. Vairagya becomes more and more keen as malas are destroyed. So like malas, impurities, they spread up like bones. So you are seeing the bones of demons. O sage, I recall how prior to creation there arises a sankalpa in the divine self. Then the 3 worlds are created. And this goes on and on, again and again. This is followed by creation of 4 castes on this earth, along with their respective duties. The deities such as Sun, Moon, Indra and others are created again and again. Again, the role of deities. First point you have to remember, we use deities as alamban, support for your mind. So first alamban for your mind Sagun Sakar. Deity has a form. Now in that form stage, form and then deity has divine attributes that you don't see in the form, but the deity, he or she, implies in boundless compassion, boundless strength, boundless wisdom and all that. So all the qualities are Sagun and Sakar. So countless deities are there. Moon, Indra and others created again and again. While deities play their role, demons play their role. Hiranyaksha. Again and again the demon Hiranyaksha steals the earth and takes it to the depths of the waters. Again and again Lord Varaha, hog incarnation, manifests to destroy the demon and to bring the earth back to its normal state. You have to understand again and again. Otherwise, one person having attained enlightenment, the story of the world will be over. But anyone who attains enlightenment goes through all these. But he has gone through it, for him the world has ended. But for another person, all he has gone through, the other person is just beginning the process. So, one person has gone beyond Sagun Sakar. Another person has begun with Sagun Sakar. So you have to understand all these subtle points. Psychology is being brought into the description. And when you begin to value the different levels, millions of Sagun Sakar together cannot match up with Nirgun Nirakar. So we say, and your Ishta Devata is Nirgun Nirakar absolute. Therefore we say in Ramayana, Rama is higher, greater than millions of Shiva, millions of Brahma, millions of Vishnu. We have to understand why is it said. It is said because all the supports you are getting, a bird getting the support from branch to branch, and there comes a time the bird opens the wings and flies. All the support that was needed gets transcended. Similarly, your mind needs support, and support comes from the same world concept. Mind has to use its own concept. Just like if the people love photographs, you see. So you have to catch a photograph of God, and you have the capacity to do that unwittingly. Again and again there arise kings among gods. There arise kings among gods, demons and men. And repeatedly Lord Vishnu incarnates as a Matsya, fish incarnation, and brings forth the Vedas. Again and again the ocean is churned by Mandarachala mountain and nectar is discovered. And again the nectar is stolen by Garuda, who possesses mighty wings. Because of my very long life, instead of saying he is immortal, eternal, they are using long life allegorically. I have seen many mysterious happenings. Once Lord Vishnu assumed the form of Brahma and created the universe. During another cycle of creation, Lord Brahma assumed the form of Lord Shiva and created the universe. While Lord Shiva assumed the role of Lord Vishnu and performed the function of sustaining it. All the three deities, they are interchangeable because they are one and the same. And going to subtle understanding, if you are bhavana, feeling aspect dominated in you, the whole world will be viewed as creation of Vishnu. If karma dominated world is real for you, then the whole universe comes from Brahma, the creator. And if your mind is based on negating the world, then Shiva becomes the creator. So for those who have different, matching up to the different states of mind, different states of your spiritual evolution, there are different ways of looking at God in so many forms, so many functions of God. Again and again, just like you say in simple way, history repeats itself. So this divine history also repeats itself. Therefore, start repeating your mantra. Again and again, similar events have repeated themselves through countless cycles. The great demons Hayagriva, Hiranyaksha, Kalanemi, Bali, Prahlada, and others have manifested in every cycle of creation. It is impossible to count the number of sages such as Valmiki, Vyasa, Shuka, Upamanyu, Bhagiratha and others. This is another point to understand. When we attribute certain scripture to a certain sage, you have no idea. So many sages have put their revelation into Mahabharata. And who is the creator? Vyasa. How many Vyasas? Hundreds of Vyasas are behind it. Therefore, here again, Ramayana Shat Koti Prakara. Ramayana is millions of variations. So millions of ways Ramayana can be presented. Same thing, millions of ways Mahabharata can be presented. Millions of ways Bhagavad Puran. Because all these scriptures, they are not mathematical literature. They are touching your bhavana, your feeling, and your matching up with your mental need. And there are countless needs for countless minds. Every sage Vasistha belonging to a particular cycle of creation is born in a particular manner. One sage Vasistha was born of the ether element. In another creation, he was born of water. In other creation, he emanated from mountains. Presently, you have emanated from the mind of Brahma. As a giving a surprising news to Sage Vasistha. I'm joking. In other words, simple way to understand, no matter how great a personality may be, how great a saint, similar saints have been brought into the world countless times. Millions of Tulsidas, millions of Surdas, millions of Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, millions of Mahatma Gandhi and so forth. This should overwhelm your mind. When you count reflected suns, there are millions. Or any reflected sun can be in tune with the real sun. So there are millions of sages, same type, looking the same, with similar story. An ultimate story of every sage is all those 7 steps to climb. And malas, impurities to be destroyed, distractions to become sublimated, and avarana, veiling, to be removed by wisdom. So no matter how you go through, these are the steps that you have to pass through, every soul. And this story will never end. As long as there is a soul working for liberation, the entire Vedas and Puranas must open their store to their heart, to the heart of that person. So with this I will conclude. Om Ram 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 Om Namah Shivaya Om Namah Shivaya Om Namah Shivaya Om. Prayer for shower of Karunamaya Ras grace over all, and the blessings of Shakti, Bhakti and Mukti. ॐ त्र्यम्बकं यजामहे सुगन्धिं पुष्टिवर्धनम् उर्वारुक्मुवबन्धनान् मृत्योर्मुक्ष्यमामृतात्। ॐ सर्वे भवन्तु सुखिनः सर्वे सन्तु निरामया सर्वे भद्राणि पश्यन्तु मा कश्चित् दुःखभाग् भवेत्। असतो मा सद्गमय तमसो मा ज्योतिर्गमय मृत्योर्मामृतं गमय। ॐ पूर्णमदः पूर्णमिदं पूर्णात् पूर्णमुदच्यते पूर्णस्य पूर्णमादाय पूर्णमेवावशिष्यते। ॐ शान्ति शान्ति शान्तिः। हरि ओम तत्सत्। जय।
Are there any questions? So we conclude for tonight, and tomorrow night at 7:30 we will gather under the kalpaka tree.